Hey everyone, it's Sean from Our Bronco Life, and join me today while I install our new Boost Auto Parts Lumastep M2 running boards. Now we've already had the M1 boards and absolutely love them, and now we are going to upgrade to the M2 with the power deployable function. So join me while we go install them today. Now the first thing we need to do is remove our M1 Lumastep boards, which we absolutely love, get some great compliments. It adds a nice element to our Bronco. So we're going to remove those and start installing our new Lumastep M2 power running boards. And now that I have my old running boards removed, it's time to install the motor and brackets for my new Lumastep M2 running boards. So we have them labeled. This is driver front, and this will be your little nook where you're going to slide in one of the bolts and tighten it up. What we're going to do is we're going to install the 3 bolts up front and then mount this nice and loose. We're not going to do it all the way just yet. And then the rear bracket, it doesn't matter which one, you can use either one, they are not side dependent. And we're going to put that one in there with 3 different bolts as well. We got one 16 millimeter and 2 10 millimeter ones where we're going to install it onto the Bronco itself. So let's go install it. So we're at the front of the vehicle right now, and you will see the pre-existing drilled hole. This is for your 16 millimeter bolt there, and then on the pinch welds, this is where we're going to be mounting the bracket there with the 10 millimeter bolts. When installing the 16 millimeter bolt for the front brackets, only install it about halfway so you can slide the bracket onto the bolt above the washer. Tighten the 10 millimeter bolts just enough so it has some wiggle room for both the front and the rear brackets. This one was a little bit awkward to get to, but it's manageable. It helps with the little power tool. I came from the rear tire around and up to secure that upper bolt on the rear bracket. Okay, moving over to the passenger side, we are ready to install the brackets and the motor for the passenger side running boards. And so this one is labeled PF. We got all the tools laid out to tighten them up. And now we're going to install it on the passenger side. I have that 16 millimeter bolt hand tightened about halfway, and I'm going to slide the passenger front motor just over the washer and then finish installing the rear bracket. Once you have the brackets all set up, it is time to start the electrical wiring. Now this is for the motor portion of your running boards. You have this control module that you'll plug into the cord here. You get your positive and negative, and then you got plugs for each side, your passenger and your driver side, nicely labeled for easy running of your wiring harnesses. Now before you start any electrical installing, you want to disconnect your battery, which we're going to do that. And now we're going to start running our power cords to our motors. So as you saw at the beginning of our video, we already have had the Lumastep M1 boards. So that means we already ran electrical for the light features of the running boards. So we already have them run to both the passenger and the driver side and the back of the headlight, so they'll work with our headlight functions. And so earlier I just tucked away what we had on either side when I uninstalled the M1 running boards, and now I'm going to follow along where I ran the wires for the electrical for the motors for the M2 power running boards. So if you want to see how we ran the electrical for our M1 running boards, I'll leave the link so you can check out our installation process on that. So on the driver's side, I'm just following down the cord that I already have for the electrical, which I zip tied out of the way, and then I followed it through behind our wheel liner. I was just removed a couple push pins so it's easy to pull it through, and this will hook up right to the motor, and that'll be your power cord. Now I'm running the passenger side wiring under this air dam behind the grill where I have my other wirings already ran, and it's going to follow those cords that I have from the M1. I'm going to zip time along there, and then go next to the fluid and down to the wheel well. So I removed the 1, 2, 3 push pins, and then I was able to funnel it around the fluid and then just manually push it down closest to the siding as possible, and was able to just reach up and grab it. Now normally I would have a nice long metal coat hanger or something to make it much easier, but since I already had the wiring installed from our previous running boards, I kind of just followed the path and it was pretty easy to just grab from the removed fender flare. Now it's time to clean up under the hood. I have these zip ties that I'm going to just snip off. I zip tied my wires to my previous ones. Once again, I ran it under this air dam here, and then we got some excess wiring over here on our driver's side that I'm going to clean up. I just kind of tightened it a little bit together, and then I'm going to secure the box, the motor box module, to the side of the battery there with some more zip ties. So just some cleaning to do under the hood, and then we'll be ready to install the boards themselves. Now for the signal input wiring and your rock light switch, we just used a metal rod and pushed it through this rubber stopper here on the side. So kind of popped out the side and then funneled it in and then popped it back in. Instead of having to drill a hole or poke through anything, we just wanted to keep everything nice and smooth there without having any additional drilling. Then we'll come around to the driver's side under the steering wheel behind the pedals and connect it up. All right, here on the driver's side, just behind the pedals, we have our rubber stopper for our firewall. Instead of drilling through it, we just tucked our cords on the side of it, both for the rock light and the signal wiring that we're going to have to tap into this control module up here on the left. So we already did it off camera, and so I'm just going to show you what we did. So here's our wiring right here that we tapped into, and I'm going to unhook it so you can see where we tapped into it. This control module on the left side is the one we were using. You can see where we tapped in. These are our blue self-tapping pieces. So here is the driver control module, and this is it facing up. And so we tapped into the top row, the 7th over for the signal input high, and then we tapped into the 6th one over for the signal input low. And once we used our tapped cords and then plugged it back in, then you'll get the function for the boards for when you open and close the doors and all the signal functions. And we ran our rock light up to here, and we had it secure, so we'll just secure it, like pinch it in here. Instead of having to drill anything in our console, we decided to do that. Underneath here, here's the motor, and the way it comes is this is your power cords. So we're going to unhook this, and one of the side is going to go to the power cord that we already had ran from our Lumastep M1, and then the other side is going to go into the running board itself. Electrical is all ran. Now we're going to open up the doors and deploy the front motor, and then manually deploy the rear motor and get ready to install the boards. Right, we got our running board in place, ready to install. You can tell that this is the driver's side because you have the Boost Auto logo on the front. Then you flip it over, you'll see the power plugs for your light up feature for your running boards. And we optioned for the foam pad, kind of like cactus gray accents to match our body style there, which is really nice, we like. Now to install the running boards, on each side you'll have 2 spacer plates and 4 bolts that you'll slide into the track, and then a 10mm nut there to secure it. Then you'll have the same thing on the passenger side. And you just place your spacers on each one of the motors there. We got that one already in place. We're going to slide 4 bolts onto the track. You'll send 2 to the back and then keep 2 in the front, and that will secure your running boards to the brackets there. Now just get them nice and lined up, and we're going to pretty much hand tighten them so we can make some final adjustments before securing it all the way. All right, before you make any adjustments, what I did was I unplugged the electrical. This is for your light up feature if you got the light up feature for your running boards. And the other end of that I plugged into the power cords that we already had ran from our previous Lumastep M1 board. So now we're going to plug it into this board, test it out, and then we're going to slide it back and forth and adjust and get it in place where we want it before we lock it down. These plugs with the red seals are going to go directly to the running boards right there. You have harness guides for either sides, which you can tuck away any excess harness to keep it nice and clean. In the front of the running board, I tucked up all the wiring as best as I could behind this plastic piece and zip tied. I had a zip tie over here, zip tie up here, another zip tie, just to nice and tighten it all up and try to eliminate any cord being seen at all. Now that you have the running boards in the position you want, just go back and tighten up the brackets all the way. All right, so I am on the passenger side looking towards the front of the Bronco, and that 16mm bolt is up here. Very challenging to get to, but not impossible. If you have a long wrench, it would be much easier. And what I figured out is that you can have a hand on the other side of the motor, and that can actually help guide you in placing the wrench onto the bolt when you're doing your turns. You're going to be doing a handful of quarter turns depending on how much you got it tightened to begin with. Now we are on the passenger side to install the passenger side running board. As you can see, we got the Boost Auto logo at the front, which will be towards the front of the vehicle. Our motors are deployed, and now we are going to put the bolts on the bottom portion of the board, the spacers, and get it installed, hand tightened, and then we'll get it in line, then we'll tighten everything up. And we'll finish tightening up the brackets all the way because these still have a little bit of give until we get them in final position. Just tighten the under bolts there with my 10mm socket, which actually you can use your Bronco one that's in your glove box. And it just enough so it still slides, so when I want to get it into position, I'm going to close the door. And I'm going to line it up and see where I want it, and then I'm going to start locking it down. Now I got it in the position I want. I'm going to tighten down the running boards with them up. And when I'm done with that, open the door and tighten down the brackets with the running boards down. Now you still got your 10mm ones here, and then the 16mm one at the top on both sides. Still on the passenger side front, I zip tied the motor cord and the power electrical cord up here, part of the frame. Another zip tie to kind of keep it out of the way. Extra precaution, just wrapped one of the plug units in electrical tape to keep it nice and dry and clean from any debris. And now I'm going to snip these up and test out the boards, and passenger side should be good to go. Installation is complete and we absolutely love the way these look. Nice, sleek, clean design, very sturdy, heavy duty product, and you can get yours at boostautoparts.com. And we can't wait to showcase these at future Bronco events and cruising around town. Thanks for stopping by our channel, and we'll see you next time.